Eli might not be able to walk or not be able to talk, but he's just as much a typical 11-year-old as you can get otherwise. I feel like there's a tendency with myself included to see kids that might look a little bit different than a typical kid and think you have to treat them differently or interact with them differently. And I don't think Eli needs that.
I'm sure you have heard us say this before, and I apologize for sounding like a broken record, but these kids that we feature are not their diagnosis. They are kids like any other kid. I am Seth Carnell, and this is the Go Shout Love podcast. This episode is part 2 of a conversation with Daidra and Eric, who are the parents to this month's feature kiddos, wonderful boys Eli and Zeke. They also have another son, Isaac, and you can hear all about these boys in part 1. I would recommend listening to that first if you haven't, just for a little context coming into this episode. And in part 1, we heard about Eli and Zeke's diagnosis and some of the challenges that surround that. Now, this episode takes a step back and looks at the broader picture of perspective and labels and dives into being a resource for families who are on similar journeys, or at least for families who feel alone. Daidra and Eric have become a great resource for each other, but have committed on being an open book about their lives so that others may use them as a resource as well. They've even joined organizations such as David's Refuge, whose mission is to care for the caregiver. You will leave this episode being inspired by these two and their outlook on life, how they are blessed and what they are grateful for, and how they approach giving. With me in this interview is Jessica Santo, our Family Relations Director. We recorded this over Zoom. COVID has made Zoom interviews very widespread. We are no different. We will pick up where we left off, which is with Eric speaking into his boys being boys.
He's aware of his surroundings. I think that's probably part of the reason why I love that Isaac interacts with him so well. And we have some real good friends in our lives that understand that and just kind of treat him like any other kid. And it's really, really special to see. Eli has qualities that are incredible if someone's willing to take the time to get to know Eli. And then we're just learning Zeke ourselves, but there's a brightness, there's a spark in Zeke's eyes that says, I'm here for a reason, and I'm going to share that with the world when the time is right. And man, I'm just so excited to see what that's going to look like as the days and weeks go forward.
Yeah, for sure. I love it when we used to go out in public and people, you could tell the people that really had something extra or something special that would speak to Eli, that would come up to him, because there's great people out there, me included, that if I wasn't walking this journey, that I may not know what to say or may not want to offend or be too extra careful or however you would want to say it. But it's nice when people still come up and pay attention and say hi and interact with Eli, or because he doesn't really, and this sounds harsh, but it's the reality. He doesn't have a lot to offer someone if you don't really spend time. He can't engage in conversation. He can't hug you back. He can't, follow you or whatever. He doesn't have what your typical relationship, that give and take, and so it takes a real special person to get into his world and to appreciate him for what he can offer. And his smile just lights up a room. Like I literally could just stand in his room all day if he's having a great day and just talk to him and watch him smile back at me and make noises, because you just don't want to leave it. You don't want to leave.
So we've talked a lot with families about teaching our kids to be kind and about inclusion in schools and at restaurants and playgrounds. But how can adults include families of children with medical needs? Do you have any advice for the adults on this?
Yeah, well, that's probably one of my biggest fears, is that people will see our family and label us a special family maybe, and then just kind of walk away and say, well, I don't know how to interact with them. And one of the pieces of advice that I'd love to give is that the five of us are just like any other family out there. We have our flaws and, we have our things to contribute. And so one of the things that I love is when families come up to us and when adults come up to us and just ask lots of questions to get to know us, beyond, your typical questions. It's fine asking all the typical questions. What's the diagnosis and, all those things. But beyond that, to just ask the deeper questions of, relationship and, just the day-to-day things even. There's the thing for me anyway, maybe this is a preference thing, but for me, there's no question that's kind of off limits or, I don't get offended by things or anything like that. So when people ask real specific, deep questions, it's a way for me to feel like we're being seen, we're being heard in a way that doesn't label us as, that's that family or whatever, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. I think I've learned, and I think Seth can agree with this after talking to families with Go Shout Love, that I want to encourage my kids to go introduce themselves and to go meet them. I don't want to be that parent who is afraid of what my child will say or do, because I want my children to experience kids like Eli and Zeke, because they're very awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
They are, and they're kids. They want to be treated as kids. They deserve to be treated as kids, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be, especially with other children who, honestly, when I've seen engagement from kids, it's like they already know that. It's the parents that are kind of withholding them because they don't either want to be embarrassed by what their kid might say or something like that. Like there's an innocence and a purity there that's just good and for us to learn from.
Absolutely. And Eric hit it on the head. We decided long ago that we would be open. We would be an open book, that we would be, that we would not be easily offended, and that we would use whatever we go through to just try to help other people. If we have any knowledge or any wisdom or any advice, that we can pay it forward after, 11 years. There's people that have done this for way longer than us that we glean knowledge from. And then hopefully we can help the ones that are just starting out or that are looking for answers. But like you said, when the little kids come up and say, what's going on with Eli, or how come he can't walk, or whatever. I mean, those are just the purest, simplest questions. And we say that was born different, or his legs are just a little bit weaker than yours. And I mean, those questions are amazing because they just come from that pure, honest, they just want to know. And it's not offensive at all. And so we just want to let people know, give them the knowledge, because some people don't, obviously a lot of people don't know, and just help people if we can.
You bring up a good point. You kind of speak into being a resource for parents who are in similar situations. Like, what would you say to a parent of a child on a rare medical journey who's feeling isolated and alone and maybe doesn't know how to branch out and speak into a community and to feel some belonging? Like, what advice do you have for them?
Absolutely. Well, I was just going to say real quick, and you can add to that. We're part of an organization called David's Refuge, and they've created something. They've coined the phrase, and I can't take credit for it, but they say that, how does it go again? You're not alone. What you do matters, meaning what you do every day behind closed doors for your kids, for your children, on your special needs journey, that matters, and that God and this community love you. There's a community that some people aren't aware of, this special needs, or however you want to coin the phrase, community of people that are a tight knit. We are all on different journeys. We're all maybe differently diagnosed, but we're all very, very similar in walking a path of sometimes fear, frustration, anxiety, and just wanting to be the best parent for our child, and also wanting to be accepted and loved in the community as well. And I think that if people are aware, and we can remind them that you're not alone, there's plenty of us out there, and just one look or one phone call or one text can just bring a whole bunch of joy, or at least awareness to someone's situation.
Absolutely. You probably say this often on the podcast, but you've got to find your tribe. It's easier said than done, I think, at times, but there's so many resources out there. People that are going through these medical journeys, they can't do it alone. Even if you have a close-knit group of people that, you can go out with or whatever, there's a world of people out there that may not understand everything about your journey, but who understand enough to know that you can't do it alone. And so find your tribe, find those people that are going to do life with you, walk the journey with you. And again, if you're waiting for the person who understands your family and your situation perfectly, you're probably never going to find them. So just, reach out where you can. And in those moments where you don't feel like you have the strength to reach out, you can do a Google search, a Facebook search. There's resources out there that are, if you've got a phone, they're, a fingertip away.
I think
I would just say,
go ahead. Sorry,
I was just going to add one thing. Just let people help you. I've learned, especially now with Ezekiel, just if people are reaching out and saying, offering to help, it's not even a pride thing. It's you don't want to bother people thing. You don't want to burden people. But if people are offering to help, whether it's a meal or to come over and hold a baby or just, vacuum your floor for you, just let them help, because first of all, if they're offering, they genuinely want to help. And I know for myself that I really could use the help, and without them, I kind of feel bogged down and burdened and just barely above water. And those feelings can be easily alleviated if you just let the people that care about you help a little bit. So,
because we've heard the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. So that kind of goes with how do you guys recharge and rest? Do you lean on people? I know you guys have a great nurse that helps and comes in and helps with the boys, but do you lean on your tribe to help you recharge? And I know that's very important as a caregiver to have.
Yeah, you have to, for sure. We have an incredible church that we belong to, and they've been incredible to us as a family. Daidra mentioned David's Refuge. It's an organization that provides respite weekends for caregiving families, and really for the caregivers, for parents and the caretakers of special needs kids and even special needs adults, where they provide bed and breakfast weekends where you can just show up and have a meal. You can just be behind the closed doors the whole weekend if you want to. There's a host there that can just listen if you need to talk, need to vent. But we're part of David's Refuge, and it's been critical for us. That's kind of the tribe that we belong to, because everyone, like you said before, everyone's journey is different. But we understand that sometimes you just need an ear. You need someone to rant to, and sometimes you just need to go behind the closed door and take a nap for like 4 hours, and in those moments, that's okay, and so it's absolutely critical.
I think as caregivers, it's easy to forget yourself when you're taking care of other children, but it's so important that we take the time to keep ourselves strong so that we can be strong for everyone else.
Kind of along the same lines, I think people would be tempted to kind of get comfortable in receiving the help and then kind of stopping there. But you guys seem to find the energy and the attitude and the joy to help serving others. How does that lift you up rather than take it out of you?
Yeah.
It really does. It's, I don't know if I can speak to how, but it's I listened to someone, an inspirational speaker or somebody, a while ago that had said the best way to help your own situation if you're going through something is to help somebody else, So if you're having financial troubles, maybe give a little something to somebody else, even though you don't have a ton, if you're going through a health struggle, maybe reach out and see, ask somebody else how their health is or whatever it may be. Is just kind of getting up outside of your own bubble and your own struggle. Even it might take every bit of strength that you have, but just reaching out to somebody else and seeing how they're doing, or saying you're praying for them, or actually praying for them, sending a card, just doing something for somebody else. And it makes your situation seem a little bit less dire, a little bit less, in keeping perspective. I always try to say to myself, listen, we're going through something and you're having a hard time, but there are people out there going through much worse. And so keep yourself in perspective. And keep your situation in perspective. Don't think that that your situation doesn't matter, but don't think that, it's the worst thing, ever. And so I guess keeping perspective and also keeping other people on your heart and mind at all times, because we just,
for sure. We were designed, we believe we were designed to be in community with each other. And, journeys like this can be very isolating. We can be very withdrawing. And as much as it feels like I need to reserve as much energy as I can for my situation, we really do ourselves a disservice, because when we live our lives outwardly focused toward other people, it's almost counterintuitive, the idea that if you give energy away, if you give resources away, you might think, I don't have anything for myself, but you find, I'm preaching to the choir here for sure, but you find that, the more you give away, the more you get. And, we've lived that firsthand. It's pretty miraculous.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What are some things that you guys are very thankful for with being on this journey? Because you guys you talk so much about looking at the positive things. What are some things that you're very thankful for?
Well, first and foremost, we're just thankful for God for a hope and a joy. We just shared on Facebook that we have a hope that even if our boys, as beautiful as they are, even if their brains are not whole here on earth, someday they will be in heaven. They'll be able to run and play and whatever you do in heaven, we don't know, but we can only imagine. And we have that hope. I'm thankful for grace that I can be honest and real with God and tell him how I'm feeling and how I don't like what's happening. And he gives me grace for that, and he understands. And so I'm just thankful for God that I just have that. But I'm also thankful for family. My mother-in-law, Eric's mom, she just bends over backwards for us. She spends days at a time here. She's Eli's respite provider, so she comes in and she gets a little bit of money from like in the fiscal intermediary to help take care of him. But she just bends over backwards for us, for him. And for Zeke, and for Isaac as well. But we're thankful for family, and just, each other. I mean, just.
Absolutely. And I think I've said it before, but I'm thankful for perspective. Something like this makes you realize, like, the things that I complained about before I had kids. It's funny when people are like, oh man, I got 6 hours of sleep last night. I'm exhausted. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to yell at you for that, but I have the perspective that things could be far worse, and experiencing something that we realize hasn't destroyed us, and God is using to kind of build us up. Give the perspective that no matter what we walk through, there's something on the other side of that that's it's really going to be a blessing to us, and then to the people around us, hopefully, as well.
That kind of leads me into, I think I only have one last question, and it might be a longer question. So if Jess, you have anything after this, then you can ask them. But so when you first got married and you started your family, this is probably not how you pictured it. And I speak a little bit from experience, not in the same way at all. Like we couldn't have our own children after one, so we fostered and adopted, and those two kids are a blessing, but they also come with other challenges as well. It's not how we pictured it. But we found in each other, my wife and I, kind of a maturity or a growth that we didn't expect. You become a team and you see each other grow. How have you seen each other grow? Maybe in a way that you didn't expect, or just in general? Because you guys seem like you have a perspective. You keep on mentioning that I don't think a lot of people have unless you are in similar situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, before we had kids, I think we were engaged to be married. Daidra bought a cat, and we got the cat.
I didn't pay any money for it.
No, she got the cat, and she bought like a diaper bag for it, and like a bag to carry it around, and I knew then and there she was going to be an amazing mom, for sure. And a little bit similar.
The name of the cat. I have to know the name.
Oh, Nala. Because the Lion King was big.
Pennsylvania. And so I knew right then and there, that she was going to be great. And Seth, similar, not maybe a little bit similar to you, we tried for like 8 years to have kids, and had to go to a fertility clinic to have twins. And our dream for what our family was going to look like, was definitely different than what we actually received, and the resilience that my wife has, is on display in those moments where, your dream kind of dies. You have this dream and it's kind of shattered, when you get that diagnosis. And then where do you go from there? Do you get bitter or do you get better, for lack of a better phrase? And Daidra has become so resilient. not necessarily like, whatever, kind of like, I don't care what happens, but more of like, okay, whatever comes our way, we can handle this. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see. And that's something that comes with maturity, not old age, but definitely.
But I feel that too. So. Yeah. And I appreciate those words. Thank you. For Eric, like I've always admired him. I mean, when I'm 3.5 and then other half of the year, I'm 4 years younger than him. So I've always looked up to him. And just saw him as intelligent and wise, and he's always been patient and kind and everything. But just those things have just gotten a bit greater and stronger. And then we have 3 boys, right? And so obviously, as a mom, I think that I am an influence in their lives. But as a father, as a dad, I mean, he takes time out of his own schedule just to be with them. The 2 of our kids that take a lot of time, and then our typical son Isaac. I mean, Eric, he talks with him about sports, and he throws the ball with him, and he's in their boat, and he's in their world and in their life, and he puts himself aside if they need him, whenever. And so it's wonderful that he's there for them no matter what. And, he's just grown, I think, too, and leans on Jesus, even more than he did when we first met. So.
Excellent.
Man, we are so happy.
Thank
We're
you. Yeah,
blown away and
absolutely.
humbled by even being chosen by anyone.
Okay, oh my God.
Guys will hold a lot of wisdom and advice for parents who will need it at the starting gate. So we really appreciate you guys being so open and honest and having a conversation. So.
And we're hoping it
You're welcome.
opens the door for other people to, hear your story. And if you're open to it, like reach out to you on social media and stuff. And this community,
absolutely.
It's been amazing to watch it develop over the past couple of years. These people get connected with each other and ask each other questions, and sometimes hopefully even meet. It's been incredible to watch. And
We actually had Go Shout Love parents get tattoos together.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
that's incredible.
Thanks for listening. If you have a child on a rare medical journey or know of a family with a child on a rare medical journey, you can nominate them on our website at goshout.love. Just click on Nominate in the navigation menu. Each month at Go Shout Love, we shout love for families with kids on rare medical journeys through the sale of creative apparel inspired by the kiddos. This month's Take Care design is inspired by Eli and Zeke, 2 brothers who are navigating their own rare medical journeys side by side. With the love and support of their brother Isaac and parents Eric and Daidra, this family models what it means to take care, to recognize what is most important in life and make careful choices to give ourselves to what matters most. Every purchase in January will help the family with expenses related to installing a wheelchair ramp for their home. Visit our website, goshout.love, to support Eli and Zeke now through the purchase of a t-shirt, a sweater, hoodie, softest hoodie you'll ever wear, tumbler, or other items. Now, if you have a second, please rate and review this podcast, and even more importantly, share it with a friend or a loved one. These stories can be applicable to anyone who hears it, especially for someone who needs to hear it or is feeling alone in their own journey, be it similar or something different. That is part of the reason we exist, to be a community that can listen, hear, and then go shout love. Thank you.